I'm Gary Abdullah.
And I'm Lydia Abdullah, and we have been married for over 45 years.
I saw this very statuesque, very pretty young lady walking through East Halls up here at Penn State University. And we had the same, common circle of friends. And so we, passed one another by. And we had one of those very special dances where we just struck up a conversation. And we've been together ever since.
Well, it wasn't that easy. The way I remember us meeting, I was a freshman. Gary was here 2 years before me. So in fall of 72, at that time, most of the Black students lived in East Halls. So that was the gathering spot. So every day after dinner, a friend and I, we'd go up to East Halls, and in the study lounge, they'd be playing pinochle and braiding hair and just having fun. It was a safe place to be. And then one evening, he walked through the Black study lounge, carrying his books, silk and wool pants on. Did you have your penny loafers on and a knit? Big, huge fro, looking cute, looking sweet. And he paid me no mind for a long time. But when I went back home to my dorm that evening, I told my girlfriend, I said, I'm going to marry that man. That's who I'm going to marry. And we started dating 73. Yeah.
Winter of 73?
Yeah. And then we were married in fall of 75. When I think about my parents' marriage, which was over 50 something years, they had a good marriage. They both worked hard, didn't play much because they worked hard, all the time. So in trying to use that as an example, but yet at the same time, we realized as we were so integrated into our church work that it was more than just work, that there was space for other things in our lives. So it wasn't a 60s comedy, it wasn't a 70s love story movie, but because we were compatible, I think we learned how to mesh out the rough spots.
And also, I think a lot of it had to do with teaching, Christian teachings. I had never seen a good marriage. I had never seen a marriage. My mother and father were not together for very long at all. And so I didn't have the day-to-day examples of, okay, this is what daddy does, this is what the wife, and all that sort of thing, which is good because I didn't come in with a whole lot of preconceptions, but I also just didn't have conceptions. And so it was the teaching, in terms of explanation of husband of one wife, of, the two have come together and meet, leave and cleave, those kinds of things that give you concept, because otherwise all you have is example, and that can be all over the board.
I really think work-life balance was a big issue, and there's seasons that I think all couples are going to go through with that, because you got to make it. There were school loans and there were bills, and so you got to work. And both of us have had challenging work situations.
Just the general challenges of life are really very powerful in pulling your marriage apart. When your marriage is struggling, when neither one of you is making a lot of money, the pressures and the craziness on that, it can distort personalities and make you make bad choices and that sort of thing. I think another thing that really has happened for us is we got married in 75, and then Women's Lib came in, and there were a lot of social changes that in a lot of ways made the marriage that we entered into different from what you got to live with, And so, I think that's something that people don't consider. It's like marriage really has changed over time.
I think teachings we received in the church helped us an awful lot. We learned to not hide from the things that we were feeling or going through, and to make an effort to talk about it. And if we couldn't handle it ourselves, get some help. Seek out wisdom on how to do it. So that made a difference.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that, you mentioned, the teachings in the church, but the aspect of church community.
Mm-hmm.
She has women friends that she can talk to, because we are still very, very different people.
Mm-hmm.
I have a way of dealing with conflict that is very different from her style and tendencies in dealing with conflict or pressure and all that sort of thing. But if you have community around you, it's not just me versus her going, we're not just banging, there is, you have to, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise the kids. It takes a village to maintain the marriage. If I don't have some guys that I can go to and say, oh man, she getting on my last nerve, and have people who are around me who have sense enough to say, fool, that's as good as you better calm down. She's getting on your nerves, but guess what you're doing? You need people to give you that kind of feedback.
So we have a son and a daughter. The change, I think, in the relationship was a good change, because there are just natural paternal instincts in him that just came out and flourished. He was the one that you could always give the crying baby to, and they settled down, and it wasn't just his voice.
Deep voices help, settle down.
And so in ways, us having children, I think, added to our lives. It was difficult because we didn't always have money in those early days.
Yeah.
And we might have struggled financially, but it was a good change, and it allowed different things in us to flourish. We have two loving children. They recognize our strengths are different. How we even raise them, they'll tell you, like, if they did something wrong, got in trouble, I'm more apt to say and do one thing, where Gary would sit and talk to them. They hated that. But to this day, they'll tell you, oh, those lectures. But it meant that he cared enough to spend the time with them to, look, this is why I'm doing this. This is why you need to know this is wrong and it's not acceptable. But I'm come from the school, I'm gonna whoop you and that's it,
Whereas they always say, my lectures were always worse than my punishment.
Mm-hmm. I think that whole concept of keeping it fresh, to me, is a man-made thing. The world has come up with this idea of, oh, keep it fresh. You got to do this. You got to go off the wire. You got to go run down it. To me, that's a bunch of mess. The fresh part is much more intimate in the terms of, it's about, what can I do today to draw us even closer? Is it getting up and getting that coffee, beating him to the kitchen to start breakfast, or, accepting him being able to make up for my physical deficiencies? Like, okay, I can't get that load of clothes out the dryer. Don't be an idiot. Let him bring it up, upstairs, Those are the things that keep it fresh, recognizing that we're changing and really trying to bolster up those parts that we know may need some support.
I think it is an important concept. The concept of freshness and all that sort of thing does have some physical aspects to it.
For example, what you can't see right now, we're holding hands, and we are touchy-feely, always have been. That's a critical part of it. That's a part of keeping fresh. We know we need to touch one another. He is and always has been all the man I've needed. You know, I've never been tempted to look anywhere else, you know, because he meets my emotional and physical and mental needs totally. And he has always.
I want her to know that she's better than she thinks that she is. And women in particular, I think, wrestle with a lot of issues around insufficiency, inadequacy, just questioning themselves. And she's a bad chick, but you lose some of the fun of being a bad chick if you don't know you're a bad chick. And I need her to know she's more than she thinks that she is.
I don't think I hear enough wisdom about the sacrifice involved. You know, you must change and adapt. You cannot be the Lydia I was married at age 20. I cannot be that same woman for 45 years and have a successful marriage. I have to become less selfish. You have to learn to give more and not expect anything back. I mean, the issue of sacrifice, you don't hear it, you don't see it, but it's so needful. And sacrifice doesn't take away from you. It builds up goodness. You know, it creates positive atmospheres. You know, so I really wish there was more being said about the benefits of sacrifice when it comes to marriage. You don't lose anything.
One of my perceptions about marriage is that the sum of the whole is much greater than the individual parts that go into it. When we come together and we, you know, over 45 years, what we have created together is much greater than my portion of what I could have done by myself.
Yes.